what's happening, everybody? Welcome to Glory Hunters Live. We're going through our teething problems, as Nick says, and this, I wouldn't say this is our first podcast, but it's something we're going to definitely try to do on the regular. My name's Tommy C. I'm a American expat living in Germany. I have a long history with the game, but I'm not kind of on again, off again throughout the years. I was taken to my first game when I was 6 years old, the New York Cosmos. Franz Beckenbauer was there, and I kind of bounced. I got interested again in '94 when the World Cup came to the States, and then when MLS started, I got to go to some of the first MLS. But I've always been in and out, and then when I ended up moving to Europe, I was into it, but then I lost interest, and then this really crazy thing happened right after COVID in 2022. I took my kid to a second league game, and that kind of coincided with the release of Welcome to Wrexham. And I really, when I do something, I do it big. I start YouTube channels, and I watch every league and every game and try to learn as much as humanly possible. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I guess stupidly, that I am not the most knowledgeable guy on the professional game. So that's why I got my boy Glory Hunter Nick, Glory Hunter Ed on Twitter, because he is probably the most knowledgeable person that I know for this particular task. So welcome aboard. I guess we're starting it from here, and we see it goes. How are you feeling?
Pretty good for the second time around.
For the second time in a row, yeah. That was quite Russ. I mean, he is British, so you're bald now. Yes, hentai for life. And that's another thing. What we're kind of about here is this is not really I mean, it'd be great if it happened, but this is not really a project, at least at this point, for any kind of monetary gain. Really, it's a club on Discord where people that are, everybody has their own team, but we talk about the world of football, the whole thing. We got people in there that, watch the A-League from MLS to the Prem, to Galatasaray to, I had a guy, when we first started the thing, he was in the USL, which is in the pyramid, it's like 2 and 3, numbered league, tier 2 and 3 in the United States, which doesn't have promotion relegation. So you can imagine how surprised I was to hear that. So we also stream a lot of games in there inside, and we also do watch-alongs, which we did just this past week. We talked about, we saw the 4-3 victory of Man United over, surprising win over Liverpool. And I want to get to that like right away. Maybe we'll do it in just in a different order this time. This is my favorite human being on the planet. When I moved to Germany, he had just taken Mainz 05 to the first league. It was probably the third time that I got really into soccer, and then I would lose interest again in 2010. But I love this man. I was mad when he went to Dortmund, but he made everything right when he went to Liverpool. He's now about to leave, and he has to suffer people like this. Me and Nick are going to talk about it.
The rest of the season starts, so let's hope they come back healthy.
Normally, intensity is the name of your game, so how come it became so difficult in extra time?
A bit of a dumb question, I have to say, because when you see us at off, you never saw us, and you can ask how can they have more resources. We played, I don't know how many games recently, I don't know how many games United exactly played. That's sport. Yeah. I'm really disappointed about that question, but you thought obviously it's good.
So too many games, or
I don't think that. Ah, come on, you are obviously not in a great shape, and I have no nerves for you.
What's up?
So you thought he was? I have real problems with this guy. I think ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. But you thought he was being a little harsh, huh?
Yeah, I do think he was being harsh, to be honest. I thought it was a legitimate question, if you ask me.
I don't think it was a legitimate question at all. I think he's questioning the team's heart. And I don't think that's a reasonable question. A legitimate question is like, why'd you sub off? Why didn't you sub off Nunes suited? Why did you take out Salah to begin with? I think that's a legitimate question because that's about managerial stuff. His first question is about club intensity, which is essentially another word for heart. I almost think he's obligated to act that way. Maybe it's because I'm an obnoxious American and you're a easygoing Brit. I don't know, but I loved it, and I don't know. All right, fine. You put your side out there. You think that's too harsh? I think it's great.
I mean, yeah, it's a funny reaction, right? But I think it's a legit question in the fact that Manchester United, who are a team that are down at the moment, they're losing, and yet they go into extra time and they clearly have way better fitness levels, at least for that game. Like, they didn't tire, they didn't taper off like Liverpool did. And so I think it's a legitimate question to see what Klopp's take is on why his team was unable to keep the intensity that Manchester United did in that game.
Well, the answer is simple, and it was on the field. The answer is they ran out of gas. I think the two mistakes that I'm remembering off the top of my head, one with Darwin Núñez, the other one with McAllister, they were clearly fatigue mistakes that led to a great Man U tradition to tie up and win the game. And all the credit to them. And then he goes to, are you saying it's too many games? So are you making Klopp excuses? Which he's famous for,
Yes.
But I think that this is a little different rather than just ragging on the media. I think he took it the way it was intended. It was intended to question the team's heart, not question the coach's decisions, which is all. If he said, why did you sub off Salah? Do you think this? And he spit at him like that, I'd be on your side. I was like, yeah, that's overdoing it. But I'm sorry, you question those boys' heart. I mean, you don't think that fatigue played any part of that?
Oh, I think, yeah, obviously fatigue played a part, but surely Manchester United would also be fatigued at that point in the game, and yet they didn't lose the intensity like Liverpool did. And so I think that comes down to like a fitness question, right? Which Liverpool are historically known to be like one of the fittest teams in the league, and like Klopp, as his job as a coach, fitness levels like that are part of his job. So like, I know I'd be interested in seeing why Klopp thinks that maybe his players weren't in the position to be able to run as much as Manchester United's team. Maybe it was a fact that they played harder in the 90 minutes, like pushed more, ran more, which then meant they burned out quicker. Or maybe, yeah, like it came down to they've played more games recently, so it's harder for them to keep up the intensity. I think there is a legitimate core to that question where it's like, why do you as the coach think your players were unable to keep their fitness 120 minutes?
But you're answering a question you can't possibly answer. It's like, what do you want to do? It's like, well, they're a bunch of pussies. Don't go to the gym. He can't, even if that's true, he can't say that. And remember the word. And remember the word the reporter used: intensity. Use the word intensity. Translation: heart. Right now, he couldn't go up and say heart because then nobody would have felt sorry for this reporter. And I get Klopp's. You're not in any kind of shape to run that, because that reporter certainly isn't able. To run 120. I mean, the cardio in soccer, football, is the most intense in all sports. I think it's fair to say that nobody runs like these guys. For this, by football standards, fat fuck, to question him, it seems like it's more of a character question rather than a question about management. Now, I'll give you this. Fitness is definitely part of management, but people are gonna run out of gas. I mean, I think a better question is, your guys ran out of gas. Should Núñez have been taken out early? Was it a good idea to sub off? Because then you're stating the truth. So instead, I think he's extremely passive aggressive. I think the question was knowingly stupid, and he got a stupid response. And it's not very controversial. It's not like Klopp's in trouble for this. This is actually pretty much par for the course, which is why I love him. But I don't know. I don't. Do you think it's just a cultural thing between me and you? You don't talk to people like that, and I do.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But like I say, if United had also looked really fatigued going into the end of it, I could understand it more as it being a character question. But I interpret it more as United were able to keep up that level. Why couldn't
the younger team? I got the feeling the United was younger. On average.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. That's I'd be curious to know what Klopp thinks it is, rather than just. And also,
I think you're right, but you don't answer the question. You don't answer the question. You don't use the word like intensity, because intensity is just another word for heart. I think there's better ways to phrase that if you don't want that kind of reaction to somebody who's that intense, you know.
But then my other gripe with it is, like, he's professionally embarrassed that man now, who maybe genuinely was coming from an honest perspective.
See, I don't believe that. See, I think it was passive aggressive nonsense. He grins at the end. You know, Klopp's known for doing this type of stuff. They want the reaction. They want the soundbite. You know, I've been around media a couple years now. They're jerks. They're not the nicest people. So I think from your perspective, yeah, I can't even argue with anything you're saying, but I am so sure that it did not come from an honest place. I am so sure, you know.
That's probably where it comes down to our feelings on journalists in general.
Yes,
probably.
I have. We have very different feelings
than I am.
Yeah,
so I'm more willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, I suppose.
I did a hockey show like this 10 years ago. And as time goes on, and as we do this, and we see how unfair, you're going to take a little closer breath, rather than just a post on our Discord laughing about it. You're going to see this happen over and over again, and you will be like me, I promise. You will see how unfair they are.
I suppose we'll see.
I promise you. All right, this is a really interesting debate. We sort of had it before, but we didn't get to finish it. The IFAB, who are they exactly, the IFAB? What does that stand for?
I don't know off the top of my head. International Football Association Bureau. I don't know.
Yeah, Association of Bureaucrats has approved new tests for another type of offsides. As you can see right here, for you Americans out there that don't know the offsides rule, that might watch hockey, consider the offsides rule. The second to last defender, usually the guy ahead of the goalie, usually, unless he's the second to last defender for some strange reason. Which Onana has been a few times, I think, come to think, since I've been watching him, is sort of the blue line, if you want to make a hockey reference. Of course, the blue line's static. You got to imagine the blue line moving back and forth. There's some other subtle differences, but just for explanation's sake, get this. Now, I like this rule. Nick doesn't. I like it because it gives the linesman. One of the things I noticed growing up is I watch the offsides. I'd be at games, and I'm like, you know what? Those guys aren't getting it. The human eye can't catch it. Not that perfectly. Not this perfect line as you see in the one below. But if you're generally on line with the defender and receive a pass, this is going to count. This is going to be onside, which I have no problem with. I think it's going to add some speed to the game. I think it's going to make more exciting transitions. Those goals that took hella skill to put in and a team effort now are goals, and they're not offsides. You don't have to go, oh my God, that should be a goal. That's just like just by the effort alone, it should be a goal. I think in a lot of cases those are off much better, because I don't like that this a Zlatan nose can keep you offside under the current system, and I think the current system is really dictated by computers, which people aren't computers, linesmen aren't computers, and by the way, I don't blame any of the linesmen for blowing these cars. I don't. I think this is a lot easier for them to call. You disagree with me profusely. Do you think that's because you're kind of a traditionalist, or I don't know? What's your issues with this?
Maybe it is I'm a traditionalist because I grew up watching it, so maybe I like to stick with the rules because I don't see a problem. But I genuinely don't think that this adds more clarity to the offside situation. I think all it does is move the goalpost from behind the defender to in front of the defender. I think if that guy, the attacker in yellow in the bottom graphic, if he's a couple centimeters back, right, his foot will then keep him offside, whereas obviously he's offside there because he's all the way. If, let's say, his foot is slightly behind the kneecap of the defender there, he's onside, but I don't trust the lino to fully be able to see, especially considering the height of his foot and the height of the defender's knee make it even harder to tell whether they're in line or not because one's below the other. I think that creates just as much issues as the current offside rule, and so I don't think there's more clarity there.
Do you think if his foot, the way I understand the graph, let's say the back foot on the bottom part is in line with his shin or his toe or his knee, the way I understand this, and maybe I'm understanding this wrong, he's onside.
Yeah.
That I would think that's a lot easier to call. But if I'm wrong, isn't that's where VAR comes in? Because I don't think we're abandoning VAR for something like this. I think we're just, giving the attacker a little bit more of an advantage because the current offsides rule is just so stringent, and I don't think can be called consistently correctly from the naked eye. Am I off here? I think this allows by the way, not just professional football. This allows a lot of leeway. I would think if it works, assuming it works, and there's a chance it couldn't, for regular linesmen for Sunday leagues and linesmen for like a league youth, like a 5th tier league that you have guys that potentially could break into a League 1 or 2. In England, I think this kind of helps them as well because not everybody can have a VAR, and you can't have, freeze frame slow motion technology to see if you have a booger offsides, or a mustache offsides.
I mean, yeah, but then I think all of that does is make more goals happen, but not necessarily the right decisions happen. I think the margins are so thin with this. I think it's just as thin margin as the normal offside rule as this one would be, but the only thing that's going to happen is instead of more goals being called offside when they shouldn't have been, this is going to see more offside goals called onside because they're maybe a tiny bit, like their foot's a tiny bit forward from the defender.
That's a really good point.
Lino, it looks like his foot is in line.
Let me meet you halfway here. How about this? I think anything like this should be tested because there's, you're saying it's going to be bad for reason A. I'm saying it's going to be good for reason B or bad for reason C, and it could be DNF, and we don't know it till it's tried. Would you like to see this applied? I would like to see like a Vinny Jr. because like really fast players to see how it affects them, and maybe in some friendlies, in combination with VAR, in combination with offsides technology. That I'm keep being told is going to be implemented. I don't know how. There's another problem altogether. We don't know how that's going to work. Do you want to see it first? And I want to see it in more than one game too, and then we make our decision because I don't think you want those goals called back. I don't think you want those goals called back. Green Man's here. Green Man, did I invite you in here? Ladies and gentlemen, the Green Man is here. How are you? I know you. I know you're dying to chime in this offsides rule. Let's hear the Green Man.
The game's fucking dead. I'm telling you. They keep changing shit.
Can we continue our podcast, Green Man? Come on, honestly, you're a smart guy. What's wrong with this? Tell us what's wrong with this.
The problem is they keep unnecessarily changing stuff. Like everybody is complaining about the rules being like how we keep bringing in new rules. We don't like these new rules, and they're like, okay, here's another new rule for you to understand and complain about. End of the day, it feels like football is no longer about football, and it's about all these things and people outside the game trying to influence it. And I don't know, it just seems like, why do you need all these people micromanaging football? Like, we don't need this.
Do you think this is a micromanagement? I think this is a chance to make it less micromanaged or less computerized and more, there's going to be human error. Humans run the game. There's going to be human error. And instead, like I've seen guys in bars just like, oh, can you believe he blew that offsides? Yes, because the naked eye can't see that. You have the benefit of looking at stop motion and slow motion. Don't you think this don't you hate when a really great skilled team goal gets blown offsides because Zlatan's nose is offsides? Doesn't this may help that, and it may make something else worse. I fully admit. I mean, I think this. I don't know if it was just a bunch of bureaucrats in the UEFA, I'd be on your side. But I think this is trying to make the game a little better.
I don't know, who asked for this though? It wasn't as if people
That's a good question. I have no idea who asked for this. I'll be honest with you. I think they would. I would have been much happier with them being like this natural position bullshit with the handball, which really needs a lot more attention than the offsides. I'll give you that. I don't know who asked for it. Maybe it's those Glazers and those filthy Americans that are in the game, just screwing everything up for you Europeans. But I saw it. I don't like the offsides. I'm not particularly happy with it. I think a lot of the stuff. I know your your other Scottish friend, Mr. Rangers, Will, he thinks that there should be some changes like that, and he's old school like you guys. So I don't think this particular case, but I'll give you this. This is not a top priority, this offsides thing. Get the handballs in check. Define a natural position, because a natural position means something when you're standing, natural when you're in the air, and a natural position is different when you're getting like a rocket shot at you at 70 miles an hour, and where you are, and intent. Define handballs first, before you do something like this.
I feel like this is a part of like a wider image of them just ruining football with all of like this new bullshit to make it something new and like more fast and more exciting and more like FIFA. It's almost
horrible.
Yeah.
Sounds horrible.
That's what they're trying to do.
So are you going to walk in front of a bus? Do you need that black pill that heavy? Are you going to end it all now?
Well, you tell me the people who run football feel Europhobe. They don't feel Europhobe.
No, there are a bunch of dopes that run football, but I mean, you could say that about any sport. They
tried to bring in a blue card. These are the
yeah, I know. Well, the blue card. Oh, we're on the same side with the blue card. I could be talked into one less game for suspension for straight red, but the blue card is ridiculous. I'm not even getting into that because I'm 100% on your side. And by the way, even though I'm a new American in the game, if the game's going to survive, tradition has to survive with it. And I do understand that, but like, if we're counting, like, why even have the linesman in the first place if we're gonna call a whisker off sides? That's my question. And again, you're right. Like, get the handball thing, then maybe work on the offsides. I don't know. Let's move on to
one second. I just want to circle back to that quickly.
Sure.
One of my other big issues isn't necessarily the calling offsides being the issue. I think it will affect games negatively because, as someone who used to play as a defender, and like I really value the defensive side of the game, I think this is giving so much more advantage to attackers that I think it will negatively affect the game. Because playing the offside trap is a huge, great tactic which a lot of great sides use. It's
kind of over. No, you're right. Offside, under this rule, I could see there's no offside trap. I got to give you that.
Because you're allowing strikers to have a head start on runs in behind defences, that it will encourage so many more people to just sit back and defend, like, instead of pushing defensive lines forward, because everyone's going to be scared that if I play my defenders forward, are they going to have the speed to be able to catch a guy who is already a step ahead of them in a race to get the ball that's launched forward? Which means more people are going to sit back. You're going to see less.
That's a great point.
Less pressing.
That's probably the best point you've made.
In that.
Yeah.
The main issue with it is, I think it gives an unfair advantage to attackers, which will then negatively affect everything, where defenses will have to be so much more careful with how they play.
Green Man?
I think he's 100% right, by the way. Like, it's just going to encourage people to play negative football to cope with the fact that if you play a high line and this new offside rule comes in and you're up against someone fast, well, why would you ever play a high line?
Never.
You just sit deep.
I think that's a good point. But I guess it also depends. I don't know. Maybe give the defenders a little more wiggle room with contact. But I think that's a really good point. Let's move on to the Fenerbahce is in a dogfight with the great Galatasaray, which is probably my favorite name for any football team. I went years thinking it had something to do with, I thought it was like Galaxy in Turkish, but it's not. It means something completely different. Fenerbahce, their number one rival, or derby, they're only about 2 points behind in this race, and it is getting hot in the Superliga in Turkey. So, I can't say this name,
Trabzonspor.
There you go. The Ultras decided to confront, or at least one Ultra did, and then this happened, unsurprisingly. Wow. Ouch. Well, I don't have much more film of this, but it got completely insane. One of these guys, he had a clown mask faced off with some of the players, and they whipped those Ultras' ass. The problem is there's like thousands of Ultras, and they all said the reason you don't fight the Ultras came into, because they started jumping the rest, and it really was a super dangerous situation of not only hooliganism, but my thing is, you can't celebrate because the ultras, we got to do all these things. It's almost like the Lukaku thing. You know, he gets called all sorts of funny names and stuff, and then he reacts to it, and then all of a sudden he's in trouble for it. Like, what's the solution to this? And is this more of I'm asking you, Nick, is this more like a problem with Turkish culture, or a criminal issue, or should these teams just be getting off when they win in a scenario like this, so not to aggravate?
Partially, the issue lies with Turkish football culture, I suppose, because you're often hearing about issues.
Let me say that too. I got to
way.
interrupt you. I'm talking Turkish football culture, not Turkish culture.
Yeah.
I don't know enough to say, but go ahead. I just wanted, so I don't want to be called the R word, and it's not retarded, you know.
Yeah, like nothing against Turkish people, and obviously, but I think you often have issues.
No, let Nick finish. Let Nick finish. I'll get you.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
Yeah, you often have issues arise in Turkey. It's one of many nations where you have lots of violence between ultras and fans. So I think partially it's that. I don't know about, maybe you bring the teams off straight away, or maybe it's just the fact you need better security, more security for a big game like this between rivals. I don't know what the security situation was like in the stadium, but maybe
it looked like there's plenty of cops. I don't know how you see. You can't stop 1,000 angry people. You know, if they decide to come on the field, they come on the field. But the only thing you could do from a military perspective, my background, is shoot them, and that's not going to happen, and it shouldn't. You know, I'm going to say, but that would work. Nobody would jump out there. First guy goes, bang, that's the end of it. But that's not going to happen, and probably shouldn't. So, Green Man, where are you in this situation? How do we stop this?
I was going to say, I just wanted to say, I thought Nick would have a problem with the Turkish, considering his haircut right now, but that's a different subject. I think it's perfectly okay. I'm going to defend the Turkish football fans here. I think this is... People complaining about this, or like literally Americans on Twitter, or like young English people on Twitter who are like, oh my god, this is so violent. No, this is
a virtue signal. It's a virtue
this
signal,
is normal for football, like European football. Okay, this is probably the calmest thing to happen at a Turkish football match this week. Okay.
Yeah, but don't you worry. I mean, like, I didn't have the footage. There were tons of ultras that we're talking about people getting killed. Like maybe like after it's all said and done, we got 20 guys with stab wounds. I mean, certainly we have to do something to prevent something as atrocious as that. You know, and like one of the things
it's
I like
to the Turkish government. No, we don't. We don't have to do jack shit. People on Twitter don't need to do nothing.
I'm not saying do anything in the countries that don't have a problem. I think England's done a pretty good job. I was born long before you guys, and I remember that crushing incident in '89 in Liverpool very clearly. I remember the Queen walking through like the wreckage of the stadium. It was horrible. And the English reacted to that. And even the Germans put in things that seemed to have calmed down hooliganism that's kind of reared its ugly head post-COVID, more so than I can remember. Because I've almost been here, 20 years now. I'm not saying we should. What does Turkey got to do? Like, can Turkey do anything? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they can. They can do what the Scottish government have done. If you want to be serious about it, they can get like the police, train their police in ultra things, so like surveillance. A lot of like police forces in Scotland do surveillance of ultra groups.
Yeah,
like basically treat them like extremist groups and surveil them, coil them, kind of control them. But
considering Turkey's a dictatorship, I don't see why that'd be a problem. It's no problem.
This is nothing new, though. Yeah. I don't get.
No, it's not
because of one Twitter video. Like some big fucking what Americans decide this is what we need to care about. Like, I don't need to do anything about this. You don't need to do anything about this.
I don't want to see people get killed, and that's not a virtue signal. I don't want to see like some 15-year-old Turkish kid get stabbed up. That's what I'm worried about.
And it's down to that kid's parents, and that's down to his kid's family. If that Turkish kid don't want to go out and stab people,
but if it's like that in Germany, I take my kid to games. We go to almost every Vegan Wiesbaden game. If it was anything close to that, and I was there when the Bielefeld fans were, like looking like they wanted to burn the city down. you know, like you have 2, 3, 4 incidents like that. Tommy's not going anywhere near a match. I don't want to live in a world like that. I don't want to see.
That's why German football's more successful than Turkish football, because the business model's better, because they don't have crazy fans stabbing people.
Yeah, okay, all right. All right, I just wanted to touch on that, but this is going to a much better subject. I'm just going to take, I just glanced over this article, but I think the subject's more important than the actual article. Harry Kane has the most successful Bundesliga debut, but for what? And that's, of course, because of Saarbrücken, the great Saarbrücken third league team, bounced them out of the Deutsche Pokal very early. And they also, they do not look like they're going to win the Bundesliga title for the first time in 12 years because Leverkusen looks like the new kid on the block. Reminds me of when Klopp went to Dortmund. It's very, very possible, even likely, that this tremendous transfer that I was all for, and I hate Bayern, but I find myself rooting for Harry. This could be a disaster for him. He's got another 2 or 3 tries with his Bayern contract. But I guess my question to you, Nick, is that a little harsh? I mean, certainly Kane has done his part for the team. If this doesn't go, I mean, there's a lot of fingers to point, but he's not one of them. To say something like, but for what? It just seems like it's clickbait. I don't know. I still think this is a good trade. I still think this is good for football. I still think this is good for Harry Kane. Where are you on this?
I completely agree. It's good for Harry Kane. It's good for Bayern Munich. It's good for everyone that isn't like a rival of Bayern Munich. But I get the but for what, because obviously the whole point of the transfer was for him to go and win something, right? And you'd think Bundesliga easy, this Bayern Munich. But yeah, I think, you can't blame Harry Kane. 31 goals, he's got like 7 assists.
He's done his part.
Like 6 games. Like, if Bayern Munich win this title, which is looking very likely, it's not because of Harry Kane. No. It's not because they spent a load of money on Harry Kane. The fact they're even still potentially have a sliver of a chance is because they have Harry Kane playing as well as he is. I think it's so understated this season. Everyone's talking about Bayern are bottling the title. Bayern are failing to win it. Oh, they've got Kane and now they're not winning the title. People don't seem to be talking about the fact that Bayer Leverkusen are ridiculously good.
They look like a Champions League team at sometimes.
Yeah. This isn't like a normal title challenge they're losing to. This isn't like, oh yeah, Leverkusen have come along, had a solid season and they're beating Bayern to the title because Bayern are bottling it. This is, Bayern aren't quite at the level they're normally at, but they're still pretty good. And Bayer Leverkusen are historically good Bundesliga sides beating them to the title. Like, I think it's less on Bayern being poor and less on Harry Kane not doing better than 31 goals in 26 games. This is Bayer Leverkusen just being a ridiculously good side, and I think more praise needs to go towards what Bayer Leverkusen are doing and less negativity towards Harry Kane and Bayern Munich.
Mr. Blackpill, where are you on the Kane situation in Bayern?
Well, I'm pretty black-pilled on this situation. I think Nick makes a couple of good points. But at the end of the day, Harry Kane hasn't been there when it's been crucial for Bayern this season. Now, the Saarbrücken, when they got knocked out of the German Cup, that can be excused. That's not him. But let's not forget, they had the chance to win the Cup at the beginning of the season. I can't remember the name of the cup, but I'm pretty sure Bayern, when there's a cup at the start of the season.
I think we have Super Cup over here too.
The Super Cup's the German Super Cup, so let's not forget he didn't show up there. So that's one match. The matches against Bayer Leverkusen himself, he didn't show up. There's 1 goal in 2 games against Bayer Leverkusen. Now, again, they're a great team and they're challenging and all the praise for them. But voting from Kane's point of view, it's good enough scoring against the German teams that don't matter. But in the 1 game in the season where they needed him, was he there?
Well, I mean, in the case of the Deutsche Pokal, he actually, I don't know that he spent more than a minute on the field.
The Deutsche Pokal wasn't Northern. He wasn't playing then. Yeah. But the games against Bayer Leverkusen, or the 2 games I'm saying Bayern needed him, and he was nowhere to be seen.
Well, I mean, we're talking about utter domination. I mean, their midfield couldn't do anything with Leverkusen's midfield. They couldn't move it. I mean, he is a striker after all, and I realize that he's a creative striker and he makes things happen. He can't get him the ball. He can't do his job.
Harry Kane had chances. That's not true. We watched those.
No, he did have some chances, but they weren't ducks. They weren't like just knocking the 8 ball in that's right next to the hole. It wasn't.
And he's not a duck. He's £100 million. They paid £100 million. They didn't spend £10 million. They didn't buy an okay striker. They bought supposedly the man who's the best striker in the world, and that's the standard you have to hold him to if he wants to hold himself to that standard. And when it mattered, he didn't do it against Bayer Leverkusen. Now, if he wants this season to mean anything, he's got a quarter final against Arsenal to show up. And in that game, we'll see that has Harry Kane got the balls to show up.
All right, I'm going to do one last defensive. First of all, never underestimate FC Hollywood. This, and I think you're seeing this with a lot of German sides, and that's why they're in the second league. So many teams that you guys grew up with that are in the first league. I think there's a lot of incest inside some of these old teams like Frankfurt and Schalke, who's looking at staring down the battle of liquidations for lesser, like the teams like Nuremberg. Steady first league teams, and I think. One of the reasons you're seeing newer teams like Union and Leipzig in the first league, which, by the way, have taken their spots, is because there's this old German mentality on how to run a football club, and now it's your turn to do it, and it's not done. Like, you don't get the job because you're a good football mind. You get your job because you're the next person in line, like an Ali Khan or something like that, or just Tuchel getting the team out of nowhere and filing a Nagelsmann for less than no reason before you had a chance to even fail. I think that has probably played more of a role in Bayern's failures than anything that he's done in the court, up into including missing some chances in an important game. I don't think you can undercut just how poorly run Bayern is, and the fact that they've always kind of seemed to win despite themselves. If I gotta make it like old baseball fans, there's 78 Yankees over and over again. It's just a complete zoo over there, and it has been for a very long time. I think they need some serious football people in there, and not people that were, he used to play here, getting the job. Maybe somebody like, I don't know, Xabi Alonso, who's started at the bottom and is working his way up. And he tried to do that with Nagelsmann, but apparently he liked to skateboard, and that was too much for everybody to handle over there. They're making a lot of stupid decisions. I don't think Harry Kane was one of them.
Never said he was. I never said he was.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're just putting a little too much on my boy, Harry.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. This is the first year. I'm going to make another American sports reference because I'm assuming we're going to pull a lot of them. We do a lot of MLS. Mark Messier did not win the Stanley Cup the first year. He had to go 2 years through failures until it clicked, and he did what he was there to pay for. Harry's going to be there another 2-3 years. He's got to feel out living in Germany. Maybe some managerial stabilization takes place after this season. If he fails this season, the fight ain't over. It's not over now. It's like he walks away with a Champions League Cup. That's it. They're good. We're good.
Yeah, everyone shuts up if they win the Champions League. And also, I just want to go back a little quick. The Super Cup before the season, Harry Kane signed like that morning.
That day. And he didn't play in it. He didn't play in that. I was in Tenerife. I remember that.
Right, so that's not on him as well. And also, you say he didn't show up. He scored against Bayer Leverkusen. You said that yourself. He scored in the first game against Bayer Leverkusen. And the second game, 3-0. Did Harry Kane have 3 chances in a 3-0 loss that he should have scored that would have changed that result?
I think actually, watching that game, I'll go address everything, but just to address that last specific point, we watched that game. I think Harry Kane could have took chances in that game. It changed the course of that game genuinely, 100%, And just beyond that, no one's saying Harry Kane's failed or flopped. He's not a good striker, he was a mistake, or he's a bad signing. I'm just saying Harry Kane does what Harry does. When the big moments matter, Harry Kane fucks it. He's always done it. He's always done it. His whole career.
He beat Lazio in the Champions League. When the big moment came in their last game,
you've got Lazio in the Champions League. Right, okay, Lazio in the Champions League. We've got England's penalty nightmare, Tottenham's Champions League final nightmare, FA Cup final, the League Cup final nightmare with Tottenham. He let Tottenham down for years, even though he was a great striker, but in the big moments he let Tottenham down. And all I'm saying is so far at Bayern, he's done the same thing. He's a great striker, but when the big moments come, Harry lets the team down.
The difference is when you look at the big moments, like that final with Tottenham Hotspur, like the game against Bayer Leverkusen talking about, his team let him down as well. This wasn't the team played well and Harry Kane missed his chances and lost those games or failed to get the points. This is the whole team failed, which meant Harry Kane's job was so much harder that it is unreasonable to expect Harry Kane to pull the points out of the bag when the rest of the team didn't show up either. Spurs weren't good in that final. Bayer Leverkusen absolutely destroyed Bayern Munich in that 3-0 game.
Absolutely.
They couldn't do anything against Bayer Leverkusen. Harry Kane could have had the game of his life, and they still lose that game against Leverkusen.
It does though. Harry Kane's meant to be the guy in the team that all the other players look to be inspired. Harry Kane shouldn't be looking around that pitch, looking at the other guy saying, "Can you inspire me a bit so I can go play good?" So Harry Kane's meant to be one of the dragging standards.
That's a hell of a way to put it, Green
That's
Man.
the exact problem with Harry Kane. Anytime things aren't perfect, his head goes down and he goes missing.
All right, fair enough. I just want to move along. I want to get to this one. I decided to go with Joshua Kimmich. He's talking about. I don't have the clubs that he wants to move. I'm sorry, no, I do. Arsenal, Barcelona, Liverpool, Manchester City, and Real Madrid. And that's not a surprise for a player of his stature. I really think he's the best player at his position in the world, Joshua Kimmich. But the thing that got me was the teams that he won't go to. Chelsea, United, and PSG. And it really is like that's the one thing that United always had when I was growing up is you wanted to play for United. You wanted to play with David Beckham. You wanted to play with Ronaldo. They have officially, and Chelsea in a lot shorter period of time, have lost that prestige. We're seeing, I told you, we've seen, long time first league teams in the Bundesliga, in the second league. Potentially in the third for Schalke. That's impossible to grasp, but that's a real possibility. I'll ask you, Nick, which one of these teams can regain their former where everybody wants to go there because they have a shot at the chance of first? And obviously, I don't think you're going to argue me. This is a sign that they really have taken a step back. It's official now. Kimmich doesn't want to go to any of the big teams. These teams have definitely lost some prestige. I mean, I think it's kind of apparent. Correct, Nick?
Yeah, and I think to answer that question, out of those three, I think Chelsea hold the best position.
I agree too.
I think they have owners who are willing to support them financially, as they've shown with the amount of money they've spent. They're building a young squad full of talent. Sure, it's not working at the moment, but how many of those players will people have looked at and thought, "Oh, he's a bad signing. He's not a good player." Most of the players that Chelsea have signed, people would have thought behind, "Oh yeah, that's a good signing. He's a talented player. You can see the vision there." So I think down the line it will work at some point, even if it's not working now. And as long as the owners carry on to pump the money in. Whereas United, you have the Glazers issue where, how much are they putting into that club? And they just, right, Chelsea aren't doing well, but they're a really young team. There's a future there. United, you're right, you got maybe Garnacho coming through, you've got Kobe Mainu, but a lot of those players, signing people like Casemiro, he's an older player. You're signing Onana, he's not got too long left, right, at the top. This isn't like a project for the future that Manchester United are building. This is a project for now, and Manchester United are failing. Chelsea is a project for the future and is failing, but you'd think they should find their footing. And the issue with PSG is they used to be the star team with Mbappe, Neymar, Messi coming in, and they couldn't win the Champions League then. So they're taking a new approach now. I really like their approach now, actually. They're buying young, talented players to build in a good system under Enrique, but I question their ceiling with just the lack of competition in Liga. How do you become a Champions League winner when you're not being challenged to the level that your competition are week in, week out, because Liga struggles to stay up to the levels of the Premier League or La Liga?
I would say the Dutch league's actually better. Where are you on this? Green Man?
I try to say first one, the Dutch league's never better than the French league. I think I want to say Manchester United because I don't want to give Chelsea anything whilst Nicholas is sitting here.
They have the brand name. I'll give
But is
them
he
that.
now? Be honest. Try to put your
Like
biases
that.
aside. I think Nick's right. Chelsea's got the best chance.
For me, honestly, it's between PSG and Chelsea, and it depends what you mean. So, like, who can I see dominating their domestic league sooner? Probably like PSG, just because like there's not many teams in France that can compete with PSG. I can't see Chelsea like overtaking everybody like else in England. But I think the amount of money Chelsea have, you'd be really shocked within the next 5 years if they weren't consistently in the Champions League regularly, or like winning FA Cups, so like doing Chelsea things. Chelsea just, you could drop 5 nuclear bombs in London and Chelsea would still find a way to win a trophy that season, man. I'm telling you.
Well, I think the standard is, basically what I started off with. When does Chelsea become? I'll tell you what the standard is. When a great 30-year-old player comes time to move teams because he wants to make a change, and he puts Chelsea, Man United, PSG back on the list. I think that's what's the most interesting thing. I think the transfer rumor isn't that interesting in itself. It's the fact the teams that he said he wouldn't go to because he doesn't think they're going anywhere, and it's tough to disagree with him. If
I
not
would
impossible.
like to say Barcelona wasn't on his list of teams to go to.
Yes, I think
at
it
one
was.
point.
Oh, at one point, no, I think it is now though. I'll read them again. I think yes. I think yes. Barcelona. I think I lost it. It was okay. I'm sorry. Here it is. 5 destinations: Arsenal, Barcelona, Liverpool, Man City, and Madrid. I've got a different idea though. Before we go to this, and this will lead me into Zabby and then our final discussion. Why not go to Leverkusen? Especially if Zabby's going to stay.
No, because it's not a big enough name.
Here's the thing. Like, Leverkusen has changed. They're not selling players. They are not doing the Dortmund thing anymore. If they can get Zabby to stay, and they have that, I mean, these are hot shot. I mean, I've never seen Germans behave like this in football. This is a new crop. This is new blood. This is exciting. You could get Bayer Leverkusen in that like big name conversation, and you could be a part of that project. That's a lot more exciting than just going to an established team to me. And if they could pick up a Joshua Kimmich, keep these guys, and keep Zabby for a season, there is no telling what could happen. They could establish themselves as a top flight European team, like sort of Dortmund moved up a level when Klopp went there after a few years, and they became the top flight. Now I think Dortmund's actually slipping back down to where they were 2000, circa 2005, 6, 7. Like this is. I think it's just a lot cooler to build a new team and establish them as a top flight European club than it would be. I don't know, Harry Henrying your way to a championship.
No, I don't agree with that. I think if you're a footballer and money isn't an issue because you're going to get paid so much money at any one of these clubs that you're set out. You just want to win as many trophies as possible. And I think within the next...
I get that, but what if you wanted to break the mold? There isn't much this guy hasn't won besides a World Cup. I mean, I don't know.
I agree with that. It's like he's won everything. He's a World Cup winner. No,
he just missed it. Just missed it, yeah.
But in terms of club football, he's won everything with Bayern Munich. And as unlikely as it seems, Leverkusen, they are one of the most exciting teams in Europe.
The most exciting team in Europe. The most
exciting to watch. They play amazing football. If they can keep Xabi Alonso, I think they have like the 3rd most points in Europe as well. Mm-hmm. This is a legit side. And maybe you can sell someone like a Joshua Kimmich on the idea, like, we have a really good team here now. They're playing really well. They're a little unexperienced because you have like a lot of the younger players like Florian Wirtz and Frimpong who haven't got a lot of experience. We want you, Joshua Kimmich, to bring your experience, to bring your winning mentality, to this Leverkusen side where you will fit in perfectly because your play style works really well with the team. We've got Xabi Alonso, the new hottest coach on the scene. We've got a side that might be the first team in Bundesliga history to end invincible. We got Champions League football next year. How about you come here and be the leader that this side needs to have a serious
And how about this? Sell it to Kimmich the way David Beckham sold MLS to Messi. You could go. We can't compete with the Saudi league. But you can go there and win whatever the fuck you get, but you can come here and be an absolute fucking legend, right? And if Kimmich puts his mark on that team and puts them in the upper echelon of Champions League teams for the foreseeable future, I think he's a lot more of a legend than if he goes to Barcelona or if he goes to Man City or something like that.
Here's the counter offer to that. Here, Joshua Kimmich, I'm Carlos Ancelotti. Here's £400,000 a week. You want to play with Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, Valverde, Jude Bellingham, and win every single Champions League for the next 5 years? You do want to do that? All right, come sign for Real Madrid.
All right, but hi, I'm Carlo Ancelotti. Here's $400,000 a week. You can come join a really exciting, good young Real Madrid team, play with Mbappe, Vinicius, Jude Bellingham, win some Champions Leagues because Pep Guardiola exists, so it's not going to be every year, but you'll be one of the good players that played for Real Madrid history. Or, hello, I'm Xabi Alonso. You can come join Bayer Leverkusen and be regarded as the pillar
that built the new team.
Champions League winning Bayer Leverkusen side that took over the dominance of Bayern Munich, and let's say they win the title again next year. You push them to win another title. That's 2 in a row against Bayern Munich. If you can push to win the Champions League, you will have a statue. You will be one of the legends of the game, or you can be
in
one
Europe,
of the
not just German.
Players.
You'll be a European legend, not just German.
You can be one of the good players that play for Real Madrid.
Yeah, with the many that's gone through there, that's just a
I think you're living in a fantasy world. That's not how these guys think, man. That's not.
That's how Messi thought. You told me that Messi doesn't think that way. It turned out to be exactly true a couple months back, right here on this channel.
Messi was Messi at that point. Joshua Kimmich isn't Messi.
He's pretty. I think he's one of the best. Who's better than him in like? I mean, I don't think
there's midfield.
No, in that position was he right back, right? He was right or left back?
He's playing right back at the moment.
He's playing right back. Who's better at right back than him?
Right back.
Kyle Walker.
Potentially.
Bet Alexander-Arnold, you would say.
Not too many. You have any more? Any more that are better? I'll give you that. That's not too many.
You're not talking many better. You're talking Walker and Trent.
Alexander Arnold and Walker are not going to be European legends when it's said and done. They're going to be legends for their own country or their club. This is like to build a new team that becomes in the running for Champions League, not just contender but potential winner, or maybe even being favored for that's a whole different ball of wax, I think.
Can we just say, Tommy, every single Liverpool fan in the comments, please note Tommy just said Trent isn't a legend at your club. Just want all the Liverpool fans to look
European legend.
Say that Liverpool fans
world
legend
Tommy
in the comments. Harass him forever now. But no, I think
I'll fall back on being American. Okay, this is the last one I want to do before we get out of here. The Real Madrid is filing complaint against the referee Juan Martinez. Monora, I can't say his name. Apparently, right? I did go back and watch the goals, and by no means is this acceptable. My American spirit can't. I don't think somebody should be put in jail for being a complete animal. At least, not through speech, anyway. But that being said, these are the laws of Europe, and that's the way the people want them here. It's a different discussion for a different day. There were racist chants going towards Vinny Jr. We've seen this in a couple places throughout Europe. This seems to follow Vinny Jr. wherever he goes. And now we got a situation where this referee is being reported because he didn't do anything about it. What does my first question is, Nick? What did, with the crowd being bigoted, what are referees' options in that situation?
Well, I know there's like a growing movement where fans and some players want them to stop the game. Like, I think they've had it in a game before where there was racism coming from the fans, and the referee stopped the game, and they said basically, if this carries on, then we're just ending it here.
But yeah, I've seen in a USA Mexico match over the summer. To be honest, with you, they threatened it a few times. I find that extraordinarily dangerous. Also, I went back and watched the goals supposedly when this happened. I don't know if he was going to his own fans, I mean, there's another way to look at this. This is referee intimidation. I don't know what he can do. Did you want every club that Vinny Jr. goes to be stopped because there's a handful of jackasses, or even a lot of jackasses being jackasses? Because there's another way to look at this. Vinny Jr. on both these goals did this with the ear, which could mean say it louder or turn it up. Maybe he was doing that to his own fans, and then he said, kind of gave the bring it signal. So he's going to do that, and I'm assuming that's if that was directed towards the scumbag fans, right? He's going to do that, and then rile them up, and then complain to the referee. That could be a tactic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real problem. And now it didn't work, so we're going to intimidate the referee. Now you're looking at a situation where Vinny might be getting away with a few calls. That offsides might really work for him, come to think of it. Am I off here, Green Man?
Yeah, I think you're kind of off.
How so?
I can't see it being recognised as a tactic.
He was, from what I could see, he was encouraging it and then complaining about it. From what I could see in the game, and I did look at it this morning, and the only way I could possibly be wrong is if he was trying to rally up the Real Madrid fans. It didn't look that way, but I can't say for sure because I'm honest enough to say I don't know. But it looked like he was riling up the ultras and then running away. This is a lot different than the Lukaku situation. Lukaku's situation is totally safe because he was taking racial abuse and told the guys to shut up. I got a red card. That's unacceptable. All right. I like the fact that he fought back. This is different. This is not fighting back. This is making the problem. And then complaining about the problem.
The argument there would be like, okay, he didn't incentivize and rile up the ultras, okay? Right, so he should be punished for that action. But also the ultras responding with that by being racist, right, isn't good either. Right, they shouldn't be racist. It's not a justification for them to be racist.
I'm not making a justification for them being racist. They're being racist because for the sake of being racist.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. He's caused the situation. But my thing would be, well, the ultras could have called him, hey, you cunt, fuck you, cunt, fuck you, bastard. Right?
Yeah.
But they've not said that. They've done something. They've done a no. They've done a TOS.
What if? Yeah, great. What if the? I don't agree with those TOS things, and I personally believe. I know there's a foreign thought in Europe. You can say whatever the fuck you want, no matter how horrible.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's not the situation here, and I freely admit that. And I think but it does seem that he was encouraging them and then complaining about them. I don't see why that couldn't be a tactic, especially if you start losing.
If you were to do that, like if people do that as a tactic, though,
do you think? Well, let me interrupt you. I just saw this before. Do you think that Juan Martinez Monera said to him, "You fucking encouraged it, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not stopping this game because you're doing it." And he did it twice on both his goals. Is it possible that Martinez said, "I'm not stopping the game because you fucking riled them up"? That's not impossible.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
They should never stop the game, though.
Yeah, I think it starts a dangerous precedent when you start stopping and abandoning games. Like, obviously, racism should never happen.
No, I'm not making an excuse for it. And just because video doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get 1,000 drunk ultras and you start taunting them. We know what the ultras are going to do.
What's happened in Scottish football? The most famous example, the foot. Paul Gascoigne with the foot.
With the flute. In fairness to Paul Gascoigne, though, he got tricked into that because he's stupid.
Yeah, but it's the same situation, right? Like you're riling up the crowd to get a response and a tactic. You know?
Yeah, I think Paul Gascoigne did that innocently enough, and he paid for it. The IRA threatened to blow up his car.
But the game shouldn't be called off.
No. They can do that, and they're charging the referee for not doing anything about it. If that's his only option, they could be turned to a tactic. I mean, and I'll tell you something. This is fair to say. This happens to Vinny more than any other black player in major football. I'm not saying he's the only one.
A lot more.
And he does seem to get it a lot more than
but
anyone else. And I saw him potentially, maybe, I don't know for sure, taunting them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think the only solution is you obviously give the team a ban, like a fan ban, if it's proven that there was genuinely racism coming from the fans.
No problem with that. Get the fuck out. Lose your season tickets. Goodbye. I'm with you there. Stopping the game.
I struggle to see what you can ask from the referee in that situation. The referee doesn't control the fans.
He can't.
Like, what is the referee meant to do?
Well, what's the point of the investigation if it is not to say that the referee is responsible for the fans? That's what Real Madrid. That's a standard they're setting. And the thing is, if it works, a referee's they're gonna be not so quick to pull a card on him when he fouls somebody. That's my concern.
I'm really confused how this falls under the referee's purview of things to deal with.
That's what I was trying to find out. He's saying he could stop the game. There are things that he could do. So, and if you look at social media, because your boy, what's his name, Romano, the Italian transfer guy, he was pushing this fucking whole narrative too. And there was no nuance. So there was like one guy in the comments, and he was a bigot for saying, didn't he kind of encourage it? And, you're a racist, shut up! Like, wait a minute, there's a discussion to be had here. It's a fair discussion,
They encouraged a reaction. Now, you can say that they encouraged that specific reaction would be the question, right?
I'd say if it was happening before and he's riled them up, then I suppose you should probably take steps to punish players, I suppose, for riling. I don't know. It's a tough one.
Like,
you should be able to rile them.
I'd like to know why aren't the reporters? What do they want? What does Real Madrid want? What's their end game there? What's their goal? So because nobody seems to know here. That doesn't mean there's not an answer. But they didn't specifically say the referee should have done A, B, or C. They just kind of like vague about it. You should have done something about it. What? What do you want? I'm sorry, I don't put it against, especially that club. They're trying to weasel their way in or get an advantage or an edge. Especially, I hate that club. I'll be perfectly honest. Now that my bias is out there, I cannot stand them. I wouldn't put it past them, and I wouldn't put it past a lot of European sides either. Take it to advantage like that. And this is a politically charged issue both throughout the West. This is something, I saw it in the comments. You can't say. You can say it in this little podcast. You can't say that, there's more to this than Vinny being called names, because it gets shut down immediately. There's no nuance. There's no thought. There's no discussion. We don't do that in today's Western world. And then it always becomes down to you're defending yourself for something you're not for. Like, nobody's for that. Everybody thinks that somebody should be punished for that. It get kicked out for life. Sure. But I mean, you literally, unless you have an authoritarian state, can't kick people. You can't put people in cuffs. We had the tragedy chanting going on during the quarterfinal between Liverpool and Man City. I mean, like, they put these guys in jail, and they're still going to do it. And I guarantee you, next Liverpool Manchester United, they're going to be tragedy chanting there too. I want it made clear to me what responsibilities the referees have for drunks in the stand, because there's no other sport in the United States where they're responsible for something like that.
Yeah, I think it's very unfair to put this on the referee's shoulders to be like, he didn't do anything. Like, it's not his job to control the fans, and if he does get punished for this, I think that is completely unfair on the referee.
You want to wrap up the podcast? You want to wrap it up there, Black Bill?
I was going to say, it's going to make match of the day more interesting when they're looking out for the referee missing micro aggressions.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed. It's not really our first podcast, but it sure feels like it because we haven't done it in a long time. Expect a lot more content from Glory Hunters. We have plans to do actual specials, standard videos. We have plans to have individual Glory Hunters doing rants of their teams. I think that should be really interesting. A weekly podcast. We do tons of watch-alongs from all over the planet. And I think the best thing is our Discord, where we all kind of hang out. And it's really there's no gatekeeping allowed. I won't allow it. It's not like one team centric at all. It's the world of football, and everybody kind of shares it. And I encourage you to join our Discord. Links in the description box below. Sooner we build a little fan base, I'd be happy to take calls. We have a thing called the queue. Jump in the queue at any time, and we can pull you up and you can talk sports with us. talk football with us. So, thank you very much, everybody. It's time to get the hell out of here. From Nick, from the Green Man. We hopefully will see you very, very soon right here on the Glory Hunters podcast. We might even come up with like other podcasts. You never know. Be like ESPN FC, but with some soul. Good night, everybody. Have a great one. Take care.